Okay, today's or this month's question comes from John in Leeds, England, and John asks us, Dear Easy Imex, we're an established business based in the north of England, supplying bike parts to the trade. Most of these products are branded products that we procure from the European distributors. However, we also have our own brand and are looking to expand on that, leveraging off our network of resellers built up over the past 12 years. We've spent quite a lot of time sourcing LED bike lights and have got some samples from a factory on Alibaba based in Wuhan. We are very pleased with the samples received so far. We are interested to use your services to ensure that we get what we order and to manage the logistics, etc. Could you please let me know what you would charge? Our initial order will be in the region of $18,000. However, once we've established this product, we would expect significant orders of this product each 6 weeks, which will grow even more so during the winter months. Sincerely, John. John, thanks for your question. A couple of things that you've written in that email to us, I guess raises a bit of an alarm bell. But generally, your volumes sound quite good. It's the right type of product. So, you should be importing from China. I'll start off with the alarm bells. Basically, the first thing that you mention is that the product is LED bike lights, yet the supplier that you have found is based in Wuhan. Basically, the two of those don't go very well together. When you're sourcing product, it's a good idea to have a basic understanding of the geography of China and where different types of products are made. Electronical goods, techie type products, and certainly LED lighting generally comes from Guangdong province, specifically Guangzhou and Shenzhen. They're the two sort of cities where I guess probably 90% of that industry for that type of product is going to be. Now, you mentioned a place called Wuhan, which is in the middle of China, which is nowhere near that province. So I'm not saying it's an impossibility that you haven't found a good LED manufacturer, but it bucks the trend of where typically that industry would or that product would come from. So for that reason, I would do some extra due diligence to find out who these people are. There could be all sorts of different reasons. Could be that these guys are a trading company and they're buying it from a factory down in Shenzhen. It could be that it's a guy that used to work at a factory in Shenzhen. He's moved back to his hometown of Wuhan, and now he's looking to, at your expense, set up a factory. And if you give him $18,000, he's going to have a crack at making this. It could be a massive manufacturer from Shenzhen that's relocating inland to Wuhan for cheaper labour costs, etc. So you could have found a brilliant factories. But I say in general, it bucks a trend. So for that reason, I'd tread with extra care. The second thing that you mention is that you've got a sample, and the sample's amazing. You're perfectly happy with the sample, and it sounds like if the whole order's as good as the sample, then yippee doo dah. You're going to be pretty pleased with that. Basically, I've been in China quite a few years, and I've probably become quite old and cynical in that time. But you kind of need to treat people with an approach of they're guilty until proven innocent. So just because they've given you this sample, in my eyes, it doesn't mean that they haven't gone down the local supermarket or the local bike shop, or they haven't got a pallet of product from the best factory in China. They dish all these out as samples, wait for you to pay your money, and then they make something that's not quite the same. So that does happen time and time again. So as I say, I guess the Western mentality is innocent until proven guilty, but when you're importing from China, that approach doesn't work very well, because you treat them with all due respect and treat them that they're good, honest, hardworking people, and that they wouldn't do these, they wouldn't tell blatant lies in this way. But what happens is you treat them that way, then you pay them the money, and then you find out they're guilty. So you kind of, unfortunately, I find you have to treat people, even when you're getting samples, etc. You have to have a bit of an air of caution and sort of suspicious mind, I guess, serves you quite well. Even though you've got a good sample, doesn't mean that that's the standard that they're going to produce your order to. So that's the sort of second alarm bell that you sort of set off with me. The good news is, though, is that you mentioned that your initial order is about $18,000 and that you need continuity of supply of this product. Now that's good news, because basically you can really pick any factory pretty much that you want to produce your order. When you're dealing with very small orders, you know, $2,000, $3,000, $4,000, you know, most of the big, better factories, probably the top 10 factories in China for LED lighting or LED bike lights, probably wouldn't even entertain talking to you because your quantities are just nowhere near their minimum order quantities. But because you've got a reasonable size order and you've got continuity of that product, you know, you're going to overcome that sort of barrier to entry to get into the good factories. So if you can find out who the top 10 factories are, you know, probably you can be buying from, you know, one of the top 3 factories in China for this specific product, getting very good prices and a very high standard of product. You know, you want to be dealing with factories that are already producing for, you know, international brands, etc. Not dealing with a factory that's, you know, only been established for, you know, a year and, you know, haven't really figured out how to wire up a circuit board correctly just yet. So that's the good thing, is that, you know, with your volume, you know, you can choose any factory that you want. The second good point, and again, it comes down to the fact that you've got, you know, decent quantity and continuity of supply, etc., is without sort of blowing our trumpet too much, you can afford to do the job correctly without taking shortcuts. By that, I mean, you know, you can afford to use a professional sourcing company that will research this industry for you, find out who the top 10 manufacturers are, talk to those top 10 manufacturers for you, get quotes from those top 10 manufacturers, and find out, you know, who you like the look of then. Eliminate all the, you know, potential people that are, you know, not very good. So you're making a selection on, you know, based on, you know, good research, basically. The other thing is you can afford to send somebody out to that factory, or you might want to send people out to the top 3 factories that we find or another company finds for you, and assess those factories, you know, with, you know, somebody physically going out there and having a look. The other thing that you can do when you send somebody out to the factories to have a look is you can have a look on the production line, and you can take your sample off the production line, or a sample of a similar product that they're making, because that is the sample that you want to get. That's the sample that tells you this is the standard that this manufacturer produces to, not one that they've just handed out to you, you know, conveniently because that's you know, their best work, basically. So basically, you can do all these things. You know, you can do quality control, mid-production checks, pre-shipment inspections, container load checks. You can do all of these things, and it's only going to make a minimal difference to your unit cost. And because you need continuity of supply, there's even more reason for doing the job properly. And again, over time, you know, though that might cost you a bit of money against your initial order, but it's going to pay dividends because, you know, you're not going to get, you know, a factory that produces, you know, defective product, etc. later on. And you're not going to go back to the drawing board, you know, because your first order wasn't right and you've got to resource factories and do all that work again the second time. So say most people's problem, or a lot of people's problem, is, you know, they want to import from China, but they've only got, you know, $2,000, $3,000, $4,000. Basically, they can't really afford to spend money on quality control, money sending somebody out to the factory, money doing research to find out who the best factory is. So their exposure to risk is much greater. So you've got volume, so you can afford to do the job correctly. So that's, I say, the second big plus that works in your favour. I mean, it sounds totally feasible for you to be importing this product from China. So, look, overall, big sort of thumbs up that, you know, you should be importing, basically. Finally, I mean, your question is, or one of your questions was, you know, how much do you charge, how much would we charge to manage an order like this? Well, basically, we charge our initial membership stroke sourcing fee, and that's for us to do all that initial groundwork, research, you know, who's who, etc., negotiate prices, blah, blah, blah. So there's that charge. In terms of placing your order, managing the order, doing all the contracts, etc., we, any order over $10,000, we would just charge a flat 5%. So that's that one. Quality control, basically, there's different types of quality control that we can do. You might have specific requests, and we might advise that we think you need to do quality control in these certain places. But generally, mid-production checks, pre-shipment inspections, container load checks. Each time we send somebody out to the factory for a full day to do one of those checks for you, we would charge a further $250. So basically, that's pretty much what we would charge to manage an order like this. So John, look, I hope that answers your questions. Good luck with your importing, and thank you very much.